Seguns Kanagoa. Today I'd like to talk to you about the different Indian nations living in what is known as the province of Quebec. There are actually 9 groups, and 9 groups that talk dialect, or 9 groups that talk a different language. Some can understand each other because there is slight change in dialect, but basically they are living in areas in Quebec that are separate from each other. And the reason for this is that originally they were considered as nations, but in the wisdom of the governments of the past, they divided into tribes and then consequently into bands. And now they are trying to, of course, get together and reestablish as nations. And in so doing, I'd like to identify certain objects that are related to these people, keeping in mind that many of these creations are also created by other nations. And for instance, my people have made baskets, have made canoes, have made snowshoes. But in modern times, these people are more identified with what I'll show you now. So we'll start off with first the Abenaki people. Abenaki people are now presently making baskets decorated with sweetgrass. Abenakis live not far from here, and they live in the Sorel, Pierreville area. And there are approximately 2,000-3,000 of them, and they are quite industrious. They also work in the United States. There are people that have been related to the Iroquois people in the past by peace, friendship, and sometimes some conflict, and they also extend into the United States and have presently some people that are living in what is now the state of Vermont and New Hampshire. And they are quite active in defense of their culture. For that matter, they presently have in Odanak, which is near Pierreville, a museum depicting their culture and other Indian cultures. And the next group that I would mention is the Algonkin People. The Algonkin People, which is the basic name of a group of people, but for instance in Ontario they call themselves Ojibwe, in Manitoba they call themselves Saulteaux, and in the States they call themselves Chippewa. Here they call themselves Algonquin because it's more of an influence by the French. They live in the western part of the province, high above Ottawa area, in for instance Maniwaki, Rapid Lake, and along the La Vérendrye Park area, and they extend up to Lake Temiskaming in that area. These are the Algonkin people. There are several thousand also people, and they majority of them still live off hunting and fishing and trapping, and they are quite proficient in making canoes. For instance, in Maniwaki there's a well-known canoe maker, William Commanda, and identify the Algonkins as being canoe makers. Then you have the next group you have are the Atikamekw, who also work with bark. The Atikamekw are located above Saint-Michel-des-Saints, above Joliet. They are 3 groups. They live in Manawan, Waimantashi, and Obejuan, and they are also people that still maintain an existence by hunting, fishing, and trapping. And they are quite proficient in the work of birch bark. And they do birch bark, and they also make canoes. And one of the important families of the Atikamekw, who are presently in the stages of development, as I said, they still live in the far reaches of the province, are the family of Caesar Nawashish, a canoe maker, and a family who makes birch bark baskets and so forth. They have an organization which is called Atikamekw CP, which has been established to defend their rights, their culture, and also to assist their people in economic development. Then you have further north, going up to the James Bay area, the Woodlands Cree. As you know, there are Cree areas living right across the country, Cree people living right across the country, and they are, these specific are the ones that live in the James Bay, and they have just recently signed an agreement with the province of Quebec and the government of Canada to establish lands and rights and privileges for their existence. I use this tamarack bird, which was made its tamarack branches. It was originally made by the Cree people as a decoy in their hunt for geese. They used to make this and then cover it with the skin of a geese, which included the feathers, and the other geese, of course, would see it and come down and investigate, and the people would help. And the Cree are quite active in politics. They are presently going into the development of tourism. They have taken over several companies. For instance, they promote the company which sharpens skates, where you pay $2.50 and get your skate sharpened by machine. They have airlines, and they've bought planes, and they are quite active in the development of their area. Then you have the Huron people who live near Quebec City. The Hurons are a group of people that originally come from the Great Lakes area and now reside mostly in Huron Village, which is near Quebec City, although they have some people that live in Wisconsin and some small pockets in other areas. And they're identified by the snowshoes because they are presently manufacturers of snowshoes. They're quite industrious. They make moccasins also. They have 3 moccasin factories, and they have, I think, 2 snowshoe factories under reserve, and they have a population of only 1,500 people. Although the reserve is very small, they're very industrious, and they are presently in negotiations with the government to expand their reserve, which is only about 1/4 mile by 1/4 mile large. Then you have, of course, the Mohawk or Iroquois people that live in the province of Quebec, which is namely ourselves in Ganawage. Then we have people near Oka, Ganasadage, and then we have people in St. Regis, Aguizasne, the Mohawk people, who are represented by the stone carving depicting the faces. This is a society of what we call healers, society of good and evil. They maintain the balance of nature, and this is a society which is still existing amongst the Iroquois people. As I explained to you in my introduction, the Mohawk and Iroquois people are quite industrious. People from the 3 territories that I mentioned, Aguizasne, Ganasadage, and Ganawage, do work on steel. They work in the United States and travel all across country, and are also presently doing quite well in the development of the tobacco industry, and which is something that we believe that is specifically Indian, belongs to Indian people. We also are I think the first ones to have taken over our responsibilities. We're the first ones to take over our administration, our police, our justice, our schools, our health, and so forth. And these 3 areas are quite proud of that. We are administered through the government, but we maintain our traditional type of government also. There's a large group of people that maintain the laws and regulations of the Iroquois Confederacy and of the Mohawk Nation, and something which people are quite proud of. Then you have the Mikmaq people. The Mikmaq people live in the Gaspé area. They reserve or a Mikmaq land in Restigouche and Mariah, Quebec. And the Mikmaq, of course, extended into the New England states. And they are people who are quite industrious also in fishing. They live around the salmon spawning areas, and they do a lot of salmon fishing and have relied on the salmon for all their lives. Their ancestors have relied on that. And I also have become proficient basket makers, and they do quite well in their basket industry. And they have a cooperative which makes baskets, and they have a cooperative which sells baskets, both retail and wholesale. And they are trying to develop their tourist industry as well as protect their rights which existed with them for many years. So the Mikmaq people live in the Gaspé area, namely Restigouche and Maria. Then you have the Mountaineer people. The Mountaineer people are people who live on the north shore of the St. Lawrence, the lower north shore and the upper north shore. And also the Lake St. John area. Lake St. John, they have one territory which has been left to them. Then they have the people living along the lower north shore, St. Augustine and Sault Romaine, Mingan, Natashquan, and they're identified by the caribou sculpture here, which is made in the form of a goose. These people have lived for centuries off the caribou and off the geese, so they're it's only normal they're identified by this this sculptor. They are quite active in the defense of their rights. They are presently trying to negotiate territories in a similar way that the Cree have negotiated their territories. And they are, I would say, 99.5% living off hunting and fishing. And they are quite active in that. They make sorties for caribou, they make sorties for moose, they do a lot of trapping, and they're quite isolated because it takes a charter to go and visit most of them, or a boat, which takes about a week to get to their settlements. And but they have an organization also, which is called the Council of the Mountaineer, and they are in the process of trying to find ways and means for economic development independence. Last but not least, we have within the province of Quebec Inuit people. They used to be called Eskimos, but they're now Inuit, and they're identified by this soapstone carving of a polar bear, which is a symbol that they use. And they are approximately, I guess, 6,000 of them in the province of Quebec, if not more. And they are quite active in this soapstone industry, which, to my information, has produced something like 5 to 9 million in revenues per year. And they are also have negotiated a settlement with the government of the province of Quebec and the federal government, and they presently own an airline, Air Inuit, and they are presently in the process of trying to develop the harvesting of caribou for commercial sale. And we certainly support them in these efforts, because again, caribou is something that is specifically Inuit, and they are quite enthusiastic and ambitious in their project. So the polar bear soapstone carving signifies the Inuit people. I show you these things because as they are quite significant of what the people are doing today, keeping in mind that all Indian people create some sort of artisanate or useful item as these. And to these people, it's important that we preserve what they've created, because it's not, to them it's not an artisanate, it's something that is used by them. And the people in Quebec should understand that there are 9 different groups who have basically the same ambitions as we have, to maintain and preserve their identity, to maintain and preserve their culture and traditions. And I hope that when you have a chance, you could really go to visit these people. If not visit them, well, at least support them in their endeavors. Thank you.